or, Paul Rakavalis. Well, that's cool, but some people win the lottery. It doesn't mean it's a good idea to play the lottery. Just because some people win the lottery doesn't make that a good idea.
Yeah, and MLMs aren't lotteries. MLMs are structured for people to fail so people can get paid. You're entering into something with a lottery. There's no deception. You know that you have a chance, a very small chance to win the lottery. In MLM, it's all deception. You're told that it's network marketing. You're told that it's social selling. You're told that it's direct selling, and it's not direct selling.
Yeah, actually.
You're told that you can do it in part-time, like in pockets of your day. You're told that if you can do it as a hobby, but you're also told that if you keep working it like a hobby, you're not going to make money like you are in a business. It's contradiction on top of contradiction, and it hides, and with the products that they have or whatever service they're offering, it just masks that most people have to lose. The money is flowing up.
Yeah. What Paul Rakavalis used to say was, he says, this business is really simple. All we do is we change a few brands, we teach a few others to do the same, and we all get rich together. That was literally his message. We all get rich together. Now, he said that being aware of the fact that over 99% of people are losing. I mean, you could not, I can't think of how he possibly could have been more dishonest.
Yeah, and they have to lose. That's the thing. It's not that their mindset, there's something wrong with their mindset, or it's a lack of work ethic, or they didn't have the right mentor or the right system or the right script. It's that they have to lose. That's the only way that this scam works. That's why so many people are losing money. And even the people that are near the top, some of them are aware, but I know there are people that are brainwashed. They just think that they're still part of this amazing opportunity. They don't realize, they still don't see their downlines churning through. They don't see their downlines that are working just as hard as they are, or harder, sending out all these messages every day, doing live videos, purchasing additional coaching, and their business isn't growing. They're not recruiting people. They still don't see it.
There was a study done where they looked at the top 1% in Amway, and the average in the top 1% was losing $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's in the top 1%. So I think this is why the tools are important, because you've got people that aren't making money from Amway, but they're making money from the tools, or they're making a minimal amount of money from Amway, but they're making a heap of money from tools, which is masking the fact that they're not making anywhere near what they're claiming to make from Amway.
Yeah. And it's sold to people as, you can be this independent business owner. All you have to do is, hit this PV requirement every week or every month, buy these drinks. You're going to be buying them anyway. They're great quality. Sure, that's a little bit more expensive, but you get what you pay for. And if you're actually getting paid, it's the bulk of it will come from the tools. So even there's so many levels of deception within Amway. So it's just, first off, who the fuck knows if you're signing up with Amway, because they don't even say it's Amway. It's A2K or Quickstar or whatever other names they have. Pancake was on here earlier and asked me to look up Larry Winters. It was LTD. It was Amway. You would never know it was Amway. And then once you get into Amway, with all this, well, you're not actually getting paid to recruit, but when you recruit someone, you get a bonus. And then inside of that, you have to purchase these tools, and that's where the bulk of their money is coming from. And you don't learn that until you hit even a certain rank. It's so messed up.
Yeah, another trick they use is they like Network 21, for example, which was a Amway tool company. When you prospected someone, you'll say you're part of Network 21. Or Dad used to say he was part of Team Mac, which was an Amway tool company.
Team Mac. Wow.
Yeah, Team Mac made Amway tapes and books and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
People like Paul Rakavalis would, make the tapes. The one I've uploaded is that was part of Team Mac. So he would prospect people, and he wasn't saying Amway, he was saying Team Mac. So because no one knows what Team Mac is, if you said Amway, the chances of the person returning your phone call or attending a meeting with you would be astronomical, because they're going to tell someone, I'm going to an Amway meeting tonight. They'd say, you're doing what? you know what Amway is, yeah? Or they'd look it up on their phone and the game would be over instantly. Yeah, the vast majority of people that attend an Amway meeting attend not being aware that they're going to an Amway meeting. And it's certainly, when you go to the meetings, there's no Amway signs or there's no mention of Amway. It's the business. They talk about the business. They never use the word Amway. Even at Amway meetings, they don't use the word Amway. But yeah, that's a point. That's an interesting point, though, because when you go to, there's different types of Amway meetings. So at the big ones where Dexter Yeager would speak, they talk about Amway. But that's when people have spent hundreds of dollars and they're in, and they firmly believe in Amway. But when you're going to a meeting that is a meeting to take prospects to or potential new recruits to, the words Amway aren't used. It's the business. So depending on which kind of meeting you're going to, will be dependent on whether or not they use the word Amway. So if there's people attending who don't know anything about Amway, they won't use the term Amway. But if it's people that have been converted, then they'll talk about Amway being the greatest opportunity in the world and the greatest business that ever existed.
It's important for people to hear all of this about Amway because all multi-level marketing companies are modeled on Amway, and they're using a lot of the same techniques. So much of it is identical. And
yeah, that's a problem. The 18-year-old that gets prospected by a new MLM company, they think that this new company is new, cutting edge, really sort of radical new ideas, when the reality is that the ideas and the things being taught are old, they're outdated. They're things that were being done 40 and 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's why.
And they'll have like new companies, like, so for example, Nuvita, which says it's not an MLM, but it's a direct selling company, but it also is an MLM. It's so fucking weird. They'll have like pastel slides, and then like a woman with a hat, one of these hats, like living the best life, and just, a field of flowers, and it's the same jargon. It's the same stuff that's Amway is. And you'll see like representatives that say, this isn't your mom's MLM. This isn't your grandmother's MLM. It's like Amway. It's all stems from Amway. And the more that people can realize that, I think that will help. I think that will help too. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like in one of Marco's videos where he did the undercover thing with the guy selling like telecommunication products. He's like, don't tell your parents about this. I'll never see you again, because your parents wouldn't understand this. This is too sort of modern for them to get their head around. When the reality is that they'd probably seen an identical Amway presentation to what he's showing, but decades ago. Yeah. So they're trying to show it as this new, radical, different thing, when the reality is it's so outdated. It's been done so many times before, and they're still trying to sell it as a new thing.
And when they do stuff like that, saying like, don't tell your parents, it's like they're painting the parents, or don't tell your spouse, or don't tell your coworker, or just purchase right away. They're trying to like preemptively address the pushback or the objection, the critical thinking that's coming like from outside that could protect you. So they're already warning you. So even though you have people in your life that you love, that you trust, that you respect, it can take one meeting to like put a barrier between that, just because of the techniques. It's so
that's why it's so important that we get to them first. If the 18-year-olds heard 90, all they need to know is that 99.7% lose money, they're not going to get into it. The problem is if they get prospected first before anyone's spoken to them about it, there's a good chance they're going to join, because they tell a pretty good story.
Oh yeah. And it depends on the time in your life where you get approached too. So knowing if they have the baseline of like these are scams, over 99% of people lose. It's almost virtually 100% of people are losing money. Even like Benjamin said, if they're making minus 1,000, they're probably getting checks presented to them on stage. It's true. I lost my train of thought, but that's what happens when you're a cult survivor and unstable. Just look at my eyes.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else has said that about you. I think Scott's alone there.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good. I want people, especially in rank makers, to see this, because a lot of the strength that people get to speak out or even leave a comment comes from just seeing other people standing up, just saying like, this is bullshit. Just that alone, it's just like, oh my God, like the world didn't end. A lightning bolt didn't come down and like destroy you. It feels life and death when you're in an MLM. This time last year, maybe it was like a little bit earlier, there was nobody. People were too afraid to say Ray Higdon's name. And now it's a totally different story. But it goes to show the power that these MLMs, these commercial cults, have over people. These are fucking cults. It's not just a matter of if you can get to a kid like early enough where you say it's like, okay, over 99% of people are losing money. That's good. At least they have that baseline. But like others, if you don't know that, it will present itself to you in a way that is like a friend is coming to you when you have lost your mom. It's going to be presented to you when maybe you've lost your job, or it could be that, you know what, you're sick and tired of seeing things in your community and you really want to just help out. Your altruism is fired up. It's like, that's how it's going to be presented to you. It's not going to, there's this deception involved, but also there's this vulnerability, which can be situational. It can be emotional. It could also be like, you're totally fine. You're a psychologist. You're a doctor. You got all your shit together, but for whatever reason, nobody told you that this is a scam and it's set up to fail, and you're hooked in.
Yeah, it's it's just such a pity though. It isn't taught in schools in America and Canada. It's just, to me, it should be though, because as I said before, 128,000 IBOs in Australia for 19 million people. Like, this is the most, if you believe it's a business, then this is the most common business there is. There's no business that's more common than MLMs. If you compare it with, say, bakeries, there's far more MLM independent business owners than what there are bakery owners. There's far more MLM independent business owners than mechanics. It's the most common business there is, but no one knows anything about it. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
How can something so common be so rarely talked about?
And if the products are so good, like with your dad and the toothpaste, then why don't more people know about it? Why is it so exclusive and secret? Nobody has heard of this,
And what's interesting too is when people quit as Amway IBOs because they realize they can't make any money, if the toothpaste is so superior, why does everybody stop using it? Why are there less people using it today than used it 30 years ago? There's less people using that product today than 30 years ago. It doesn't make sense that a product could be so superior, so much better than everything on the market, but could lose market share. And also, it's not just that. They talk about MLMs being a franchise. So you think about McDonald's, they never advertise the franchise. The franchise sort of sells itself. What they advertise is the product. So imagine if McDonald's had shown as many business plans as what Amway has. Amway shows literally millions of plans plans or business opportunities every year, and yet their numbers don't always increase. So it just shows how low the success rates of the plans are.
Yeah. We were taught, get a lot of people doing a little bit of activity. It's describing a pyramid scheme, but like Benjamin says, but I can show you countless videos of MLM leaders explaining the 99%. They acknowledge it. This is the other mind fuck of MLMs, is that they will tell you exactly what they're doing, but we hear it differently. We are like, oh no, but this makes sense. That means that I have to really work on my mindset. I just have to prospect more people. I just have to be coachable. I have to do exactly what my upline says or my coach says because success leaves clues. I need to get to the event, and I can't go to the bathroom at the event because I'm going to miss that one nugget of advice that would completely change my business. And
but I mean,
sorry.
So, but logically, there's people who own bakeries and McDonald's franchises and mechanic shops. I'm sure some of them have bad mindsets too, have bad attitudes.
For sure. A lot of people can be
What?
successful and have a bad mindset. What does a bad mindset mean? I would like to know what that definition is. What does exactly a bad mindset mean?
Bad mindset is not listening to every single thing that Dexter Yeager says and treating it as gospel. A bad mindset is questioning why the toothpaste is overpriced, why every single MLM product is drastically overpriced. They used to call people who would check prices price checkers. That was like, they used to laugh at price checkers. That was like the most ignorant, unsophisticated thing you could do in Amway, was to check the prices or compare the prices of Amway products with the other products on the market. Yeah, being labeled a price checker, that was a real insult. And they would just laugh their heads off at price checkers. They're worried about the toothpaste being more expensive when they're not worrying about, creating a diamond ship, which would mean they'd never have to work again. I mean, how silly is that?
The ridicule to like force conformity and like to ensure the behavior of the commercial cult. And it's just so weird because it's the opposite of empowering. They say this is this amazing community of like-minded people. We lift each other up, but again, we're also going to ridicule you when you critically think, because that's a bad mindset. If you're asking questions, if you're critically thinking, that's a bad mindset.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is that if the products weren't overpriced, it'd be okay to check the prices. It's just because they're overpriced. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why people, once they realize they can't become millionaires from it anymore, that's the reason why they stop buying the products. If the products were reasonably priced, they would have a lot more people going, okay, I can't become rich from this, but that's a good product. I'm going to continue to buy it.
And you'll see this, just like Amway, like you've described, when people stop, if you're in Monade, it's called a market partner, the distributor, whatever. We stop buying the products. And there's groups on Facebook that people are looking for dupes for certain products because they still haven't unhooked from the belief that there is only this one product from their company that they really, really like. And it could be a really good product, but they're just like in process of separating themselves from that. And there's a lot of people that ask, do you have a replacement for this skin cream? Do you have a replacement for this lip gloss? I really like this. Nothing else worked on my acne. And it's from all different companies, but they don't want to spend it. Even while they're like separating themselves from their MLM, they're not going to be purchasing any MLM products. Even though they still really like this product, they still won't purchase it. After they leave, they don't buy it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I think at the end of the day, though, it's not about the products. It's about the idea that you can make the person rich. That's what they're selling. They're not selling products. The products are just a way of hiding what's going on.
Yeah,
it's about
the opportunity.
I can make you a multi-millionaire working part-time. That's what you're selling.
Yes, exactly. And this is something that I've heard too. This is so weird because I haven't heard this being coached ever, but all these coaches and uplines even now talk about it. They will say, well, you're going to hear people say that it's just so easy. This isn't easy money. Nobody says that now. And I don't think anybody has said this for years, like long before I even got sucked into multi-level marketing. We are told that it is hard work. We're not told that it's easy. We're told that you can work it in pockets of your day. But then once you're in, we are told that you have to work hard and that you don't know if it could be 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. So it's just always thinking ahead. That carrot is always dangling in front of you.
I would say that there's two stories here. Mm-hmm. When you're prospected, they tell you it's going to be easy and it's certain. Once you're in, the story changes so Dexter. I mean, the perfect example is Dexter Yeager would teach people you need to show the plan 5 and 6 nights a week. But he only made those speeches at a big function. Remember I said before about how there's different types of Amway functions.
Yes.
So where you're taught 5 and 6 nights a week, that's only said in front of people that are really, really in and hardcore. The meeting you go to where you take the potential new prospects, that's where it's taught this is easy, you can do it in pockets of time, this is going to create time freedom straight away. So there's two stories being told.
Yeah, there is. I remember even when I was like prospecting people or having a presentation, which I occasionally do in person, we would have a sheet of paper, and it was important to use everybody that uses this sheet of paper because it's duplicatable that way. That way you can show people like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know much about this business. All I do is just read from this piece of paper to show that even if I don't know what I'm doing, you can do it too, because it's all about the business opportunity. And then I would just like read from this piece of paper, and there would be 3 ways. There's 3 ways to purchase. Retail, you pay full price and then pay shipping and handling. VIP, you get a discount. You pay a one-time membership fee, and then you get a discount, 15% discount on your products. And there is an auto ship component, but we call it flex ship. And the third option is if you like the products and you want to make a little bit of extra money, you don't even have to make a little bit of extra money because there's no monthly minimums. You can just sign up for the discount. That's another thing. Does Amway do that too? Do they ever say sign up for the discount?
Yeah, the idea of the idea that you're going to save money on your grocery bill is absolutely ridiculous. The products are so overpriced, it's not funny. But it's amazing the way the story goes from join and you'll save money on your grocery bill to, oh, the products are more expensive, but it's because they're higher quality.
Yes.
Two completely different stories, and it's a bait and switch. You know, the bait is save money on your grocery bill. The switch is they're more expensive, but they're better quality. But actually, what you were saying before, what I remember what was taught was you could do everything wrong, say everything wrong, and if it's the right person, they'll join, or you could do everything right, and if it's the wrong person, they won't join. So basically, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you show the plan, if it's the right person, they're going to join, which is just completely ridiculous. You know, to get people in, you have to be extremely skilled at speaking and spinning and, you know, tricking.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way you're going to get people to join.
Yeah. Lying.
You need to be extremely skilled and talented to get people in, and to not just get them in, but to keep them in. Yeah. You've got to be, it takes a lot of talent and a lot of ability. And the idea that anyone can do it is just absolutely ridiculous and dishonest.
Yes. Because you're recruiting people into a cult too. So it's like you're bringing them into the system, and it's like when you're taught that it's duplicatable, you can earn while you learn. It doesn't matter if you don't know all the answers. I didn't know all the answers, but I just went out and I just started recruiting people. But yet, when you do start recruiting people, like you said, it's so hard to get them to stay because the churn rate is inevitable. People are going to be like, this isn't working for me. They start to wake up. They're not going to like stick in. We're coached and told to it's your fault because you haven't created a sticky culture, a good culture. You want to keep people around the campfire long enough, and they just might catch a spark, because your best representatives, your best IBOs, your best market partners will come from customers because they're already familiar with the products.
I think the biggest myth actually is that the hard part isn't getting to the rank. The hard part is keeping the rank.
Yes.
So my dad had a small period of time where he was earning $1,000 a week or $4,000 a month. And what he said to me was, he says, I now have an asset that is the equivalent of $1 million in the bank. And the way that was calculated was to earn this much money from bank interest, I would need to have this much money in the bank, so $1 million. The problem with it is, and why it's absolutely ridiculous, is that if you have $1 million in the bank, it doesn't matter what you do, you're still going to have $1 million in the bank. Whereas his Amway asset that was the equivalent of $1 million, the second that the people quit because they weren't earning the money that he told them they were going to earn, that asset then became worth zero. So the idea that an Amway passive income is the equivalent of a certain amount of money in a bank account is just beyond ridiculous.
it is ridiculous, and yet it's these concepts that we will like grasp onto, and we make it make sense.
But the way it's taught is that once you reach the rank, you're then getting a passive residual income for life.
Yeah.
But it doesn't factor in the fact that almost inevitably the people that are making you that money, the downline, they're almost certainly going to quit. It's almost like, I think once you reach a rank in Amway, it's sort of like having a bathtub without a plug. You need to keep recruiting, getting more and more people in, because the water in the bath is going. The people who are your downline, they're almost certain to quit. The chances of them being there, if you got 10, a downline of 20, the chances of having more than one or two of them in a year's time are astronomical. So it's, to me, the perfect way to describe, once you reach an Amway rank, it's like having a bathtub with the water running and the plug's not in. It's a matter of time.
Yeah. That is such a good description. And that will be acknowledged in multi-level marketing too. When I was in Rank Makers, we were taught you need to, they don't say churn rate, but they're like, you're losing people all the time. You need to always be recruiting. You want to grow your business.
That's only taught though. Sorry, that's only taught once you're really deeply in.
Yeah, when you're deeply in. Yeah.
What's being taught to the new person is that do the work once, get to $100,000 a year. You can then stop and do nothing. You can do nothing ever again, and you will have $100,000 passively, residually for life without doing anything. And then it's later explained to you, once you're more committed, that actually, in reality, you need to keep doing it. It's not, you know what I mean? They're baiting and they're switching and they're changing the story depending on how committed you are.
Yes. They wriggle like a worm just to keep you in.
And
there is never passive residual income. There never is. You get to if you do get to 6-figure income, you have to keep working. And then what I know it's taught is that, but why would you want to stop? A lot of people, they get to this certain level and they just think, well, forget it. I'm just done. This is like, I'm using the same kind of way that we were coached. It's all about shame. You want to change the world and impact more lives, you need to bust your ass and recruit more people and work so hard that they create a new level in the compensation plan of your company. So then people that's what they think they need to keep doing, even though they'll be telling new people you don't have to work, which goes back to when you were talking about your dad in 94 when he saw through it. There's these people that are supposed to be, were they diamonds? Were they diamonds saying that?
Yeah, he was talking about the top guys who were speaking on the tapes that he was listening to, and they were talking about, they were saying that they retired and they weren't doing anything, and then they'd say, I did a speech here in Sydney tonight and I'm off to Brisbane tomorrow, and it's like, well, hang on, you just said are you retired or are you on the speaking tour every night? Which one is it? You can't be both.
He saw it. He saw it.
But then in 2001, he didn't want to see it. So he was ignoring what was, I think because he was more desperate, his situation had become worse in 2001. Therefore, he wasn't as open to, he wasn't looking for flaws. In 94, he was looking for the flaws. But also with residual income, I think residual income and passive income in general is a bit of a myth. I mean, if you look at, have a look at Madonna. Now, she gets passive residual income, but the idea that it's passive and residual and it's going to stay at the same level forever is wrong. So, I mean, quite clearly, she'd be selling less CDs today than she was selling in the year 2000, because she's not, but I mean, there's multiple reasons for that. Less people buy CDs today. She's not played on the radio and MTV as much anymore. So I don't really think there are. I think the idea of passive and residual income in general are a bit of a myth. Even, I mean, maybe in real estate, true, but again, market factors can change. Rents can go up and they can go down depending on, factors out of your control. So this idea of a passive and a residual income, it's a bit of a myth in general. Especially, I mean, obviously there's some areas where it's a bigger myth than other areas. So obviously MLM, that's where it's the biggest myth. But just in general, I think it's a bit of a myth too, because situations and conditions can just change.
That's such a good point, and it's a good observation, and it's like it's critically thinking. It's important for people to see this, to just start challenging these assumptions that are widespread, that can easily be co-opted by MLMs.
So yeah, it was like, yeah, I mean, they used to say, you know, you do the work once. If you do, they used to say you got two options. You can go to a job and you can do the work, get paid, do the work, get paid, do the work, get paid. Or you can come to Amway, do the work once, and then you receive a steady residual passive income forever. So once you hit $100,000 a year, you're then guaranteed $100,000 a year forever, no matter what you do, which is completely and utterly wrong and irrational, because they can't guarantee that, because the only way that could be guaranteed would be is if the downline was guaranteed to stay in, or if there were customers, which is impossible, but let's imagine there were customers who were spending enough money buying products for you to earn $100,000 a year. Those customers simply there might be another company that comes along that's slightly better, then they choose to buy those products instead of your products. So the idea that it's passive and residual is ridiculous, because business conditions are always changing, situations are always changing, you know, preferences. Like with the music, I said Madonna, like, because people's preference in the way they listen to music has changed from buying CDs, quite simply her passive residual income has changed. It's gone down.
Beyond says has something here. So I have a legit passive income. I made a video game that has a bit of a cult following. I maybe make like $300 a month on it, if that. Like, you have to be wildly successful to actually make any real income. Yeah, good for you, Beyond. That's really cool. Yeah, this is something too. Your that statement, like, you have to be wildly successful to actually make any real income. This is something else. This concept that's distorted in MLMs. So they'll take like people that are successful, or the appearance of successful, which just means someone that has a lot of money, a millionaire. And they'll say millionaires have an average of 7 streams of income. So this is another term, streams of income. Does Amway use that too?
Oh, yeah. It's all about, basically, in the world of Amway, if you don't have money, you're a loser. If you're rich, if you don't have money, you're a loser. And if you do have money, then you must be a winner. Like, you know, they don't factor in the fact that maybe the guy just inherited a lot of money. I mean, some people, some of the richest people in the world are really rich, not because they worked really hard or because they've got high IQs, but because they inherited a lot of money. I mean, that isn't factored in. It's just, if you have money, you must be successful, and if you don't have money, you're a loser, which is irrational.
Yeah. If you have money, you deserve it, and you are also you vibrate at a higher frequency. You're better at manifesting. You have overcome your limiting beliefs. You no longer self-sabotage. It's like all these things. You have special favors from God, even. It can go like that. And then on the other end is that if you don't have any money, well, there's something wrong with you. You deserve it. You've attracted that to you. That's why you need to invest even more money into your MLM, or make sure you get to that event, because there's something wrong with your mindset, your money mind.
You know what too, Julie? If somebody gives you advice, you shouldn't listen to that advice unless they're rich.
Yeah.
So, you know, the idea that, you know, any advice coming from a person that's not rich just needs to be ignored.
Yeah.
So that's often the thing they say. Well, someone will speak to a family member and they say, well, is the family member rich? No. Well, then why are you listening to them for? So, you know, a person that's not rich couldn't possibly have a good idea, couldn't possibly be right about anything.
Yeah. When a lot of these people, like, I know when I was reading Merchants of Deception, they would like go to these Amway conventions and they would be renting gowns and tuxedos just for the appearance. And the same thing happens now virtually. People rent out studios and they rent out jewelry and cars, and they'll take photos and then they'll post it as if they own it, and they don't own it. It's all deception.
Because that's the mentality, though. If you have a Ferrari and a big house and a nice watch and a good suit, you're wise. If you don't have that stuff, you must be really stupid and really ignorant and uneducated. that's the crazy mentality that these people believe. You know, Robert Kiyosaki is right because he's rich, and I'm wrong because I'm poor. That's the mentality. And mind you, I was 18 years old, so like, how could I have become rich at 18 to start with?
Yeah.
How many 18-year-olds are rich?
Does Amway is also has a religious component. Has that affected your dad at all?
I think parts of it do and parts of it don't. I think the religious part of it was much bigger in the 80s and this
Okay.
when it started. But I think in general, there's less. Religion isn't as big today as what it used to be. I think that you had groups like Dexter Yeager's group was very much about religion, and they used to use their religion to get. So I think people trusted Dexter Yeager because he was a religious man. And I think that religious people tend to trust people more who are religious than people who aren't. But there's definitely people in Amway that aren't religious at all. And, you know, the guys like, you know, your Rick Kennedy's and your Paul Rakavalis's, they'll read a person, and if they're religious, they'll talk about religion. If they're not religious, they won't talk about religion.
Right.
They'll read the room, and they use religion as a bit of a tool. So yeah, there's